Okay, bit weird, but I'm right now in the Egham station, and I've got like 10 minutes to read, so I think I'll try and reach up to one. And these pages won't be here all the time, just so you know. Here, this is these lonely victories. He had been sitting under the cafe awning, watching the hypnotic disorder of people endlessly passing by in the sunlight, as if he had nothing better to do. He looked like one of those well-groomed, footloose Americans contemplating his next liaison, the night's pleasures to come, getting along in Berlin somehow. Not old, but in the over 30 category. Short-haired, clean-shaven, non-revolutionary. A good-looking, quiet type women might like and trust. It happened he liked women, but he was always very careful with them. One had to treat them well, but never too candidly, for their own benefit as well as one's own. When Gerda arrived and joined him, he listened while she told him all the things she had learned about the traitor in their midst. It was his business to have found out, to have employed almost any means in this regard. Gerda had worked out very well. Her lies and deceit had served an unquestionably good cause. Coleman had done his best to make this clear to her. Her admissions of guilt and confessions of weakness were spoiling his efforts. He listened to her out of kindness, but was bored and faintly irritated. He was a fourth-generation career army man, and he was bred to believe in them and us. He found no value in letting things prey on one's mind. There were contradictions in everything, inconsistencies everywhere. A job like this was not for moralists. The soul, whatever that meant to each individual, had to have been well searched by the time one got to this job. Nothing should have come as a surprise by then. Yet here she was, both betrayed and repentant. Women were able to reconcile the two. He didn't resent her for it. He accepted it as one accepts any other natural phenomenon. The two of them sat there on the white wrought iron chairs with red padded back cushions. Common watched her, a tall, pretty young woman of an immense and somewhat muscular beauty, someone who might be able to run and jump well, and he let her talk as if they were ironing out an old misunderstanding, his eyes sympathetic, his impatience under control. Her eyes were moist, her apple-cheeked face a mask of regret. "It makes me feel sick," she was saying. "I didn't think it would. I thought I could take it in stride." She spoke with a faint German sibilance in otherwise good English. Coleman continued to look at her and didn't move. "After I began the whole thing, even though it was all for you," she said reflectively, "I began to wonder what you would think of me." But he had never given it a thought, and now merely waited for her to go on. "And what do you think of me, Brian, now that I've done all of this?" He didn't turn away from her insistent and oddly innocent gaze. He said, "You've been indispensable." "But what do you think of me?" she persisted, then considered the case against herself in a quietly rueful voice. Searched his pockets, listened on his phone calls, read his mails, spied on him. All the while he was making love to me, believing me completely. She shuddered slightly, looking at him again. "What can you think of me, no matter how pleased you are with the results? What can you think of me no matter that I am ein Dern? You did an important and difficult job," he said, "and you did it well. Would that it had been someone else," she said, as if a terminal illness had taken over her. "Sorry about this. Will you just let this pass?" There was no one else, he pointed out. Someone had to get into bed with Don to be close enough for what we needed. We couldn't have got within 100 feet of him. He's one of us, and he knows everything we know, every trick. Coleman looked into her eyes as if this were all for her benefit. Only someone he'd sleep in front of would have had a chance, and that had to be someone special. Because Stebbins is a lot of things, but he is not a fool, and he's very particular. "I didn't know," she obviously I know. She obviously took no pleasure in the thought, perhaps didn't even believe it. Weber, Coleman said with deliberate significance, absorbed by what implications that her name held. He's the one we have to get, and now we have the chance, thanks to you and you alone. He nearly said darling, but instinctively stopped short of doing so. It wasn't his kind of word anyhow. Without you, he went on, we wouldn't even have known of Weber's existence. It's rather like a game, she said, with wistfulness and supreme disappointment, as if she had expected something else. Something else. It's not a game to me. Then does it prick your conscience? Does it hurt? Because of the method we used? Why should it? Coleman said. We're talking about someone who has sworn betrayed his country, his friends, the lives of dozens of people he swore to protect. He looked at his wristwatch. He has no claims on anyone's conscience. He looked at his wristwatch. I just hope he doesn't turn into a fuck you. Then, I'm going to have to leave now. Will you call me? She said gravely, the soft, demanding eyes. Do you want me to? He said, wishing it hadn't came up. Yes, she said. I'm sorry about carrying on this way. You can't help your feelings. Yes, but I should keep them to myself. Do you have any plans to see Don before his plane takes off? We've an afternoon appointment. Keep it, and don't give him any reason to be jumpy. Like an injured player ready to return to the game, she said. I'll be all right by then. Good. Come, we'll leave together. 38 years old, a touch over 6 feet tall, dark-haired, even-measured, blue-eyed. Coleman walked with a dark-haired, even-featured, blue-eyed. Coleman walked with a measured step at medium speed in unison with a big golden girder huntsman. She was honey-haired and high-breasted, her long legs covered only to the mid-thigh by the moderated miniskirt. She and Coleman made an attractive couple as they walked towards the waft walls of the Europa Center, the damaged tower of the old Kaiser Wilhelm Church looming in front of it. There was everywhere that air of prosperity, now long world-renowned. People bustled back and forth or strolled here and there, as if each of them was responsible for the achievement of an exquisite premature spring day. In a moment, Gerda and Coleman would separate and experience its glories far apart, and in different ways. I think I must get out of all this some day. Very soon, Brian, she said as they stood at the corner crossing, the noise of the traffic creating an enclave, an odd sort of privacy. I'm going to stop there outside. I'm going to carry it on later. Okay, we're back. Coleman saw what amounted to a cry for help in her eyes. He realized for the first time that she was in over her head, and he felt sorry for her. But there was nothing he could have done about it. Does it ever make you feel unreal? She asked. Does it ever feel unnatural? Sorry. I never let it, he said, without bothering to explain his own understanding of its purposes, something she could never share anyhow. I'll call you in a few days. After it's over. If it's over, yes. He was ready to turn away when she stopped him. Brian, she said, something vital on her mind. He waited attentively, and then she told him. She then told him, whenever I've been with Don, whenever he would hold me, I've always imagined it was you. There was a touch of triumph in it. Coleman looked at her. Coleman looked at her, and she returned the look steadily. Then she crossed towards the big shopping centre and was lost in the streams of people. She had left him with a flourish, and he remained standing there for a moment or two afterwards. She wanted to take something from him that may have been rightfully hers, but which he was unprepared to give. He began walking in the opposite direction, consciously pushing her from his thoughts. considering only the crucial information that she had delivered. In 20 minutes, he was entering an office building off the Kochstrasse, teeming with prosperity and the diverse commerce of advertising, publishing and manufacture. 200 different corporations and companies listed on the non-reflective glass directory in the lobby. He may have been a research chemist, a salesman, an executive of one of those American companies with branch offices in Europe, not someone excessively feared or admired for what he was and the willingness with which he led his hard and relentless existence. Just anyone in the so-called normal scheme of things, as he stood in the elevator with several other anonymous travelers. His face was chiseled and swept clean of any uncertainty or tension. He seemed calm, even as he talked with Paul Gerda, in some ways almost phlegmatic, as if he couldn't easily be moved by his own discomfort or even grave personal loss. Yet the coldly blue and steady eyes were not quite carefree on close inspection, and faint tracks, as if were made with a thin stick, ran from his cheekbones with hints of doubt, like hints of doubt. Sorry, wait. I'm just gonna try and, if I do this, then you see the whole book. But then, if I somehow really need a camera or something just to be there. I guess I'm reading through the lens. Sorry for the shift. Then stick down like hints of damps. But no reliable man was utterly convinced of anything, and only idiots didn't have doubts. He got off at the fourth floor and went to the door of the offices of Compound Development Limited. It was here that Stevenson awaited him. Stevenson's was a candidate for legendary, the kind that originates in the annals of a specialized field, and it is ultimately with often dubious intentions turned into a book about master spies, criminal lawyers, or old-fashioned city editors. He had a flat-nosed, asymmetrical face with glistening hooded eyes, and what Coleman always thought of as a Chinese smile. Into his 50s, he was markedly short and compressed and quick. Everything about him was like the tight-collared white shirts with the sparkling French cuffs which he wore invariably and for so many years that they had the semblance of a deep personal conviction. He was hard, good-humored, and impatient. You always thought, if you were one of his people, that he would have a solution no one else could come up with. He waited and listened as Coleman said, "I think we've got Stebbins leading us to it. He's flying to Stuttgart tonight. 6 o'clock plane. From where he goes to Blaungen by train, about an hour away. About an hour away. We can only assume he's there to meet with this Weber, whoever that may be. Anyhow, we'll be there waiting ahead of him." What if I did this? No, then I can't see. I did this and then that. Maybe that could work. Wait, let me pause. Wait, I'll pause the recording here. Okay, I'm gonna hold it like this. Stevenson said, "It sounds good, on paper anyway. You can trust it," Coleman said flatly. "Oh, I do," Stephen assured him, strolling to the window with a view of the wall of the Friedrichstrasse crossing, looking down briefly as if to be sure it was still there. "That girl couldn't have done a better job," he said, and then moved back towards his desk. "I had my doubts to begin with. The Mata Hari routine has its limitations. I wasn't at all sure someone like Stemmons would fall for it. The type that usually has wet lips and a fat lower lip. Don't ask me to explain that. I won't. Anyhow, she did the job. Dirty but not regrettable. No less than Stebbins deserves. My hat's off to her." Coleman said, "She's not feeling exactly carefree about it." He felt moved to say a good word for her, recalling with a touch of sympathy Gerda's misgivings and afterthoughts. She wouldn't do it a second time. I'm not taking her lightly, Stevenson said. I won't even ask why she did it for you. I got her from the Bundesnachricht Tendenst. Highly recommended. It was her job. She's sorry now that she didn't turn it down. But I never promised her anything. I never slept with her. Never even touched her. It doesn't matter. Because she decided she did it all for me anyway. So now I owe her something I can't pay her. She shrugged faintly. Can't worry about it, or I might as well quit. That's okay. Tell it to her if you have to, not to me. You wanted to know. That's right. But I didn't ask you. I just hope your conscience and your job stay together most of the time, Brian, and that you don't lose too much sleep about anything. Sometimes they do. Stevenson waved the topic to a close. Let's talk a little bit, he said, walking behind his desk, remained standing, frowned thoughtfully. Stebbins is only a minor factor now, the dirtiest, but still minor. We are interested in him only in relation to other things. The main factor is getting Mankin back from the East Germans. That's objective A. Everything else is subordinate to that. Nothing from the East German? No feelers, no hints? Common asked. Not yet. We can pretty well assume it was Stebbins who betrayed him. He's willing to do it to a whole list of others, so why not? We can't fix the leak in any event. Yes, but there's more than just the point, and I don't want you to lose sight of it. We need this Weber. We need him in an airtight case because that's how we'll be able to get Mankin back from the DDR. That's the blueprint. And Stebbins is the key to Weber, we hope. After that, you can throw him away. Stevenson had come around the desk again where Coleman was standing, and he put his smallish but stronger hand on Coleman's arm. Look, there's plenty behind this, Brian. This department is sitting with eggs in its pockets right now. You're bright enough to not need anyone to draw pictures for you. You know partly what's up. We're on the most urgent and generally nasty detail we've ever put in all likelihood. Will ever pull in all likelihood. He used the army terminology simply because he was speaking with Coleman. I could be fired. That's right. And I don't want to be fired. Why? Easy. Because I will leave Steve Major to take over Llewellyn's job when Llewellyn steps down, and I happen to know that move is imminent. Stevenson's eyes glittered with desperate energy, his voice vibrant and all-knowing. Okay, I haven't said it correctly then. As an American citizen, that would bother me dreadfully, Brian, simply because Steve Major has shit for brains and cannot discharge the responsibilities or carry the burdens imposed by the position. He doesn't even have the political gifts and personality Llewellyn has. He doesn't even have the political gifts and personality Llewellyn has. As a matter of fact, knowing as much as I do, the thought of Steve Major in charge of operations over here not only worries me, it terrifies me. He released Coleman's arms, having underscored the point, and Coleman said, Are they pressing you? In subtle ways, because they are being pressed. Because ignorance and self-deception are historical commodities. Because people want to stay in the office, so they play it safe and avoid nasty facts that might make a mess for everyone. I'm glad I'm where I am, Coleman said. I might quit if I had to be in your spot. Sorry. Nearly done. I'll wait to be fired, Stevenson said, walking back to his desk, moving like a gamekeeper through his preserve. Too many people complain about the quality of the people who serve them in governmental departments of various kinds, but they do nothing about it themselves, even when they're certain they could do what's required better than it's being done. That's why I'm in this job, Brian. Not because I'm thrilled by it, but because I feel it's a job that to be done and that I can do it well, and not many other people can or will do it. And at my stage of life, there's nothing in the world to stop me. Coleman said, One thing. Since you've opened up with me like this, just one. Stevenson began to light a cigar as if waiting for someone else to play a card. What is it about Mankin? What makes him so high grade? Coleman said, knowing better. Can I ask you that? You can ask, Stevenson said, drawing on the match flame. But I won't answer. You don't get enough money to carry anything like that around with you. Coleman nodded. I better get going, he said. Don't talk about it to anyone, not even Joe Fox, Stevenson told him. It might help you to know a little bit about what's on my mind, but no one else needs to. He confided just that much, and it had to be enough. And one other thing, he then added. That girl. Women like that can be unreliable. I don't need to tell you. So can certain men, Coleman said. We don't want this thing and showing up in the Time magazine or something. I trust you'll be exceedingly careful with her. I will be. Coleman then walked out. They hadn't talked much about Stebbins. Maybe it was too soon. He had left behind him disunity and poison. The man next to you never looked quite the same again. For this alone, Stebbins to be sitting in the duck that Gerda had made out of him. She had passed herself off as a grade A girl, gave him her body, her promises, took his trust and then stuck a knife into him, lied to him, and double-crossed him. In other words, gave him exactly what he had given the others. Coleman wanted to feel that it was absolutely fitting, absolutely just, and he told himself that it was. Sat there by himself for a moment or two afterwards, glad he had a soldier like Coleman that he could count on. So few others understood patriotism and what it was that was expected of him. The Russians understood it, as did the Chinese and the Israelis. We, on the other hand, seldom did. That's because our lives were too easy, too successful on the whole. That was the uneasy truth of the matter. We breed rebels, recalcitrants, and cynics. Stevenson was glad that Coleman, at least, was none of these. That's chapter 1. As you can see, chapter 2 later. Just a thing, though. I don't know anything about this book. I tried searching it up, but then the author, nothing came up. So if it's like weird or anything, or controversial or anything like that, I don't know anything about that. Yikes. Yeah.